evening. A very warm welcome to Tolworth Girls' School. I'm Siobhan Lowe. I'm the head teacher of Tolworth. Our live panel tonight also features, I'm going to introduce them, the head of lower school, Mr. Matt Perry, and the head of Year 7, who is Rebecca Powling. TGS is an outstanding world-class school, and while we are disappointed not to see you in person, we are really looking forward to answering your questions and telling you about our school this evening.
This is our second live event. Our first one was this time last week, but we are completely live and the technology is quite new to us, so please be patient if we make any little mistakes. If you've got any technical issues throughout the evening or you can't stay online throughout the event, then please don't worry. It is being recorded and we will post you a link as soon as that recording is ready for viewing. Thank you to all of you who have submitted questions in advance when you registered. We'll do our very best to answer all of your questions, both those already submitted and any ones that come through live this evening. This evening really will be split into three parts. We're going to have some short speeches from Mrs. Lowe and Mrs. Powling, telling you a little bit about our school, and then we'll get on to the live questions. So without any more ado, I will pass you over to Mrs. Lowe.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope that tonight we'll be able to share with you that ingredient that makes Tolworth Girls' School such an outstanding school. I do appreciate this is a very important time for you as you decide on your daughter's education for the next 7 years. Our ethos is quite simple really. We want all of our students to be the very best that they can be. And simply put, as our parents say, we just get girls and young people. I hope all of the videos and information that we have supplied on the website gives you a flavour of our school. Outcomes here are outstanding. Year on year, there's been a significant improvement in the progress made by our students. This year, most students achieved at least one grade better than their target grades. A-level results were fantastic, and given the climate, we really celebrated the positive effect this would have on the life chances of our students. Our staff are exceptional. We establish such wonderful relationships with our students and we really get to know them. And during the lockdown, our staff taught online every day for at least 3 hours. The statistics are really impressive. Our IT support department created over 1,000 teams. Students made up the bulk of these teams and 1,500 were active users. We use the chat facility on Teams to support students with their learning, and over 500,000 messages were sent. There have to date been over 14,000 online meetings, and most of these have been lessons. Over 250,000 files were created, and we really did our best to run a full online version of our school. And this included an art exhibition, which showcased the work done during lockdown alongside the GCSE and A-level work. We had a virtual sports day, starting with the usual fantastic banner parade and ending with a whole school student staff fitness session, led by one of our really energetic PE teachers. I was exhausted by the end of that. We had our online assembly, Leaders Assembly for our Year 11, where we managed to say, well, a warm goodbye and a warm hello, because the vast majority of them joined our sixth form. We celebrated Wonder Weeks, where we really explore key issues such as Black Lives Matters. We ran clubs such as Sensational Scientists, the Duke of Edinburgh and our book club, and we also worked with our primary students to transition into Year 7. We really work and listen to our students, and senior students attend governors meetings where students' issues are discussed and actioned. We have a senior executive group of the sixth form senior prefects as well as Year 11. And we sit and discuss the vision and future plans for the school. But sometimes this does include discussions about the toilets and the PE socks. We help when it is needed. We monitor our students' progress on a regular basis. And when students are either tested or receive level homework, we look at their attitudes to learning and spend time encouraging our students and our reluctant learners. If a student is really struggling, we help them with additional support. We are aspirational. We have incredibly high standards and we set aspirational targets, and we have a culture of high expectations and prioritise the pursuit of excellence across all aspects of the school's work. and we strive for excellence at all times for our students. We do have over 1,400 teenagers here, and you can imagine there are occasions when our students push our boundaries, but we do deal with it. We will exclude if we need to. Behaviour and our students' attitude to learning are exemplary, and the behaviour outside of lessons is impeccable. Our students from all backgrounds are exceptionally considerate of one another, and we all get on incredibly well. So the question for you tonight is TGS the right school for you? TGS is a school where staff are really committed. We experience success not only academically but personally, and previous TGS students have become Olympians, got numerous actresses and NASA scientists. It's a school where we care for the individual, we work as a team, we are really determined to succeed, we are aspirational for all our students, we have such enjoyment and so much fun, and we strive for excellence, your daughter's excellence, to let them be all that they can be. I'm now going to pass over to our head of year, Rebecca Powling.
Thank you. So I'm going to speak to you as head of year 7, and that role means that I oversee the academic, social and emotional well-being and progress of students in the year group. I work with a team of tutors and support staff to ensure the smooth transition from Key Stage 2 to Key Stage 3 and help students get off to a really great start on their secondary education journey. This evening I'm going to outline the transition process and what we do here at Tolworth to guide and support students through what can be quite a nerve-wracking but very exciting time. We're also here for the parents too. It's undeniable that the pastoral support of young people in secondary environments is pivotal to their academic success, and we pride ourselves on outstanding practice here at Tolworth Girls' School. TGS is often quite familiar to some of our Year 5 and 6 students because of the outreach work we do as a school. Our STEM subjects have forged links with local primary schools, and in more ordinary times, students from Years 5 and 6 enjoy travelling to Tolworth Girls to take part in specialist workshops. We're also really proud of our sixth form ambassadors and upper school prefects who accompany staff to local primaries and support Key Stage 2 students in their learning, and they can be on hand to answer questions on the secondary school experience. So as soon as places are announced by the local authority, we begin our transition process. Staff visit the schools of students joining us, and this not only enables us to gather information from Year 6 teachers and special educational needs staff, but it also gives Year 6 students a chance to meet a key member of staff from here and begin to have their questions answered. As the year progresses, we begin to carry out more targeted transition support, such as our transition tea party, which is aimed at students who might find the process a bit more difficult, or they might be a student who is the only person joining us from their primary school. It's an opportunity for students to come and physically visit the school and spend some time here, as well as it being an opportunity for parents to meet. So our transition day is always a really exciting occasion where all of our new students come together to experience a day at Tolworth Girls. We put together a busy schedule of their new subjects, allowing students to experience lessons in the science labs, out on the Mooga, and in the art studios. Students love meeting new friends, getting to know their much bigger surroundings, and sampling the canteen. That's always very important. And there's always a huge buzz as they're collected at the end of the day. As I said, parents are also really supported during the transition phase, and our transition evening is a great opportunity to hear from our head teacher about our hopes and aspirations for your daughter, as well as how you can be involved as her educational experience continues. So parents on that evening are able to meet each other, and there's an opportunity for you to meet with your daughter's form tutor, who's an integral person in their life at secondary school. And during that evening, students meet their fellow tutees and form tutors and spend time getting to know each other and working on building the foundations of what become really great teams of students. We aim for there to be a diverse group of students and range of students in each tutor group, and take into account the information gathered through our visits to primary schools, and we also conduct parent interviews where you're able to come into school and tell us all of the things that we need to know about your daughter. So that information together helps us to create our form groups. We put a huge emphasis on new friendships at TGS, and we encourage students to be open-minded about the new people that they'll meet. Students are introduced to the Tolworth ABC, where we ask students to aim high, be brave and create positivity, and their summer challenges are linked to this ethos. We also take part in the transition reading projects with Kingston University, and this year we gave every Year 6 student who was joining us a copy of the book Talking to the Moon, which has proven to be a really fantastic shared resource and bonding resource for the students, and a really good conversation starter amongst staff and students. So when they come to start with us in the autumn term, we believe in a softer start to the academic year for Year 7, whilst they find their feet and become accustomed to a much larger site, lots of movement, and once again being the little fish in the big pond. We stagger our return to school so that Year 7 have a day where it's only them on site, and we extend their break and lunch for the first couple of weeks as well, so that they can get their much needed downtime, as well as more time to navigate the canteen and find their way to the toilets and all of those things that perhaps cause them a little bit of stress in the early days. We also have a buddy system in place with our Year 8 students, so new students have a friendly face and someone who can guide them through the Year 7 experience from a student's perspective. We run lots of interventions, including motivation and resilience workshops, as well as initiatives designed to stretch and challenge our more able from early on in Year 7. We're keen to discover our diamonds. Student support workers are always on hand to support those who may need more help navigating the early days of a new school, and initiatives such as our Chill Out Club ensure students have some quiet time and space to help them adjust. We don't forget their need to build friendships though, and the Year 7 disco is always a key priority in the first term, and then they have a fantastic team building trip in the Kent countryside where they have an overnight stay, and they really look forward to that in the summer term. So overall, Year 7 is an action-packed year for students, and our provision ensures they get a solid, challenging yet nurturing start to their time here at Tolworth Girls' School.
Okay, thank you very much, Rebecca. Okay, I hope that's given you a little flavour of life at Tolworth Girls' School. We're moving really to the main part of our evening now, which is the live question and answering session. If you wish to submit a question for one of us, then please hit the question and answer icon at the top right of your screen. That will open the chat window. No one else will see your question other than us, so please don't worry. Type away. There is no such thing as a silly question. While we're waiting for live questions to come through, and I can see one or two are coming in already, we'll start by answering some of the general questions that came in when you registered for this event. If we don't get to your question, I mean, we will do everything we can to answer all the questions tonight, but if you don't get your question answered, we are happy for it to be submitted via a link we'll post towards the end of the evening, so that ultimately you are able to get the information about our school that you require. You will see we've obviously got a laptop in front of us which has some of the pre-loaded questions from registration, and we have a live stream coming through up on the screen. So if you see us looking a little bit confused or befuddled as we stare at the screen, we're looking at the questions as they come through. So that's how it will work. It will depend on you submitting questions to keep us busy, but we're going to make a start really by just answering some of the admissions questions that often come up and were probably the most popular sort of type of question that we had on the pre-registration. So we'll start with those. So the first question is, what is the best way to apply for a place at your school? You happy answering that one, Mrs. Lowe?
Yeah, okay. There is an online applications via eadmission.org.uk. You must apply by the 31st of October 2020 for September 21 start. and then you get your offers on the 1st of March 2021. We're told the day before, but obviously it's top secret and we're not allowed to say anything. And then you need to accept or reject your offer by the 15th of March, because last year I think we had over 750 applicants, and obviously people want to know whether they've got a chance of getting in if you're not going to accept the place. And on Wednesday the 7th of July, and obviously we get this to be confirmed, you will visit us and see what the school's like, and you will be working in the school, we hope, in July next year. We hope everything's back to normal by then.
Okay, what is the school catchment area? This is quite a good one to answer, because I can see actually we have had a live question come through, which is about the furthest distance last year once the waiting list and all the movement happened. So we don't have a catchment area. We have 240 places available in Year 7 for next September. If applications exceed that 240, and last year we had over 700, then our admission criteria in terms of priority are looked after children, then siblings of our current students, then children of staff, and then those students with exceptional needs. And those needs can be family, social or medical. And then finally, it's about distance as measured in a straight line. Last year, I think there were 202 students who got in on the final category, which was distance. And the question that was asked that came up live was what was the furthest distance? And the final place was offered at 2.9 kilometres or 1.8 miles. And that generally is quite similar year on year. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a sort of information about the sort of criteria for our admissions and the fact that we don't have a catchment area. Do most students come from the same primary school?
Okay, so our intake usually comes from about 15 different primary schools each year, and students come from a variety of schools in Tolworth, Chesington, Surbiton, Berrylands, but then also out to Worcester Park, New Malden, Thames Ditton and Long Ditton. So it is a real range of primary schools that we have joining us.
Okay, I don't live in the borough of Kingston. Can I still apply for your school?
Yes, absolutely. We have a number of students who come from Surrey. What you need to do is list our school in your order of preference on the application form, and your home council will notify Kingston Schools admissions, but admissions criteria will still apply. So hopefully you're within 2 miles.
How important is order of preference when actually applying? Well, your order of preference is confidential, so we as a school don't get your order of preference. We're not told that, but it is important to you. Each application is considered against every school you've got on your application's admission criteria and not order of preference. But for all of the schools for which your daughter qualifies for, you will be awarded the one that you've got the highest preference for. And for which your child has met the entry criteria. So the order of preference is important. It's important for you. Schools are not informed about that. Why should my daughter choose Tolworth Girls' School?
I thought I'd explain that in the introduction, but we are really an inclusive school. We have students from all walks of life, and we are an inspirational atmosphere, I think, here. We really put the students at the centre of everything we do, and I think the learning that took place during COVID and the lockdown really reflected that, and we focus on developing the whole student. So we celebrate students who go to Oxford and Cambridge, and we celebrate students who become beauticians and also hairdressers and mechanics, and lots of doctors and nurses and everything. And my one proudest moment is that when I get really old, I've got people in the school, in our local community, who will look after me really well. So and also will take me to the moon, because we've got NASA scientists who've been previously part of our school community. We have incredibly supportive staff. They work really hard, who are specialists in their field. They're all subject specialists. And we've got a really unique system in the sixth form because we're mixed. So we have boys, and the girls see the boys, and they're really good role models for the girls as well. So they don't sort of wow boys, but they're used to seeing young boys walking around the school and being part of our school community. And we have outstanding academic success, and year on year we've been on a really positive trajectory. 3 years ago, positive progress 8, and then we increased it 2 years ago, then we increased it again last year, we've increased it again this year. So it's over 1 for every subject that's taken, and we've got brand new buildings, and we're delighted about those because they will serve our community for years to come. So that's why I think you should come to Tolworth. And also, girls do much better in girls' schools. They can be who they want to be, but boys do better in mixed schools, which is interesting.
Okay, what is the transition to secondary process like at TGS, Rebecca?
Yeah, so I talked about that quite a lot, but just to recap, so once the offer is accepted, there's a parental meeting in school with a senior member of staff, and that happens in late spring. And like I said, that's an opportunity for you to tell us everything that you think is important for us to know about your daughter. We then speak to primaries regarding every student to build up a picture of them as a learner and a person. And then we have our transition day in July, closely followed by the transition evening, which both the student and the parent are involved in. And then, like I said, we have a phased start in September.
What are class sizes like?
Well, because we are oversubscribed, we usually have about 30 students in each class, but we do extend the number of groups in English, Maths and Science, and there can be approximately 24 students, and then there's also smaller classes in technology. But we do find that we don't set classes, we sort of stream our classes. So we have fast track and mixed ability, and the fast track classes can be 30 and the mixed ability classes tend to be smaller. So it's about an average size, I'd say, of about 24 in school.
Okay. What are the benefits to girls in single sex education?
Yeah, I touched on this. It's really interesting because when I was interviewed for my job as head teacher, they said to me, what do you do that's in terms of the curriculum? And I was really confused, and I thought, what do you mean in terms of the curriculum? Because we offer a curriculum that is a curriculum suitable for the students in the school. So we don't tailor make it for girls, because our curriculum enables the students to go on to do things that traditionally girls might not have done. So we've got students who go on and do lots of scientific and technology and engineering type work. So girls here can excel in all subjects and be themselves, and they express themselves freely, don't they, just? And they really don't worry about what boys think of them, and they're just really content to be themselves. And girls do respond better to written and vocal instructions. Confidence tends to be an issue for girls, so we do a huge amount of work on resilience and getting the girls to speak out and to ask and to vocalize concerns, and believe me, they learn that really, really quickly. It's a much calmer environment. It's a shame you can't come round, but what you will notice is during lesson times it's incredibly calm, really, really calm, and as soon as the bell goes, it's just noise, because the girls can't wait to talk to each other and communicate. So obviously doing really well about speaking out, and there's a wealth of evidence to suggest that girls do well, much, much better academically in an all-girls school, because they feel that they can just be what they want to be. They don't have to sort of show anything or compete with each other. And as I said, boys do better in a mixed school.
Okay, we've got a question here. What is the structure of the tutor groups and how are they selected? Rebecca, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah. So we have 8 mixed ability tutor groups of 30 girls, which are selected by key staff in lower school. We usually spend a whole day with lots of piles of interview sheets and information from primary school trying to get it just right. And our aim is to ensure that there's a range of needs, backgrounds and primary schools in each form group. And the tutor groups are named after precious stones, which the girls seem to really like.
This one's quite a question that comes up a lot. What modern foreign languages are available for the girls to study? Well, they can study French or Spanish is really the answer to that, certainly in year 7 and year 8. It will depend on which form group we place them in. So one half of the year will study French, the other half of the year will study Spanish. They then have the option for GCSEs to choose to continue on with those languages. So obviously if they've studied French in year 7 and 8, their option choice would be French. We do offer French and Spanish at A level in our sixth form. All students will also do a Mandarin module as part of the Year 9 curriculum, and we have run Latin previously as an enrichment class. And also at GCSE level, students who speak a second language naturally, maybe it's their mother tongue or they've spent time abroad, then we do offer lots and lots of opportunities for students to take their love of languages forward. Every year we probably offer 6 or 7 mother tongue languages. Things we've offered Polish, we've offered Arabic, Turkish, Portuguese, a whole wealth of different languages are available at GCSE and A level if students are able to speak them fluently. So it's French or Spanish, and while students aren't allowed to choose that on entry to Year 7, we will listen to what students have studied at primary school, but it's our choice in terms of which language they study based on which half of the year group they end up in. So I hope that makes things reasonably clear. And there was a question that's come in tonight that said, can I choose which subjects I study? So that ties quite nicely with the Year 7 curriculum, Rebecca. I don't know if you want to take them through that.
Yeah, so all students study the same set of subjects in Key Stage 3. So all students study English, maths and science, and then they also study technology. So that's taught on a kind of carousel, and so students can experience graphic design, design technology and food technology throughout the year. And then we also offer the creative subjects, so art, dance, drama, and then humanities, geography, history, RS, as well as music and PE, and then they have their French or Spanish as well.
I think that ties in nicely with another question that came in pre-registration about GCSE choices. Students are given 4 choices at GCSE on top of the core that all students must study at GCSE level. So it's English, or 2 Englishes, literature and language, maths, either double or triple science, RS and core PE, plus 4 other subjects of their own choice. So there is a choice available at GCSE, following on from the broad and balanced Year 7 curriculum. What does a typical day look like for a Year 7 student, Mrs. Lowe?
Very busy, very busy. School starts promptly at 8:30, so all the students have got to be in by then. And if you're late, and I often get this sort of asked by the students, what happens if I'm a minute late? You just get a half an hour detention. What happens if I'm 10 minutes late? You get a half an hour detention. So it's really important, the attendance and punctuality. They arrive and go straight to their lesson 1. All lessons are 1 hour long, and then period 2 and 1 and 2 is before break, and breaks at 10:35. They have 25 minutes, and honestly, the girls get ravenously hungry, so they all go to the school canteen, or at this present moment in time, we've got pop-up food areas for our students. And then at 11 o'clock they start period 3, and then we have period 4, and then they have lunch, and believe me, they're really hungry again. That's 45 minutes. And then we have period 5, and normally school finishes at 3:25. We have a tutorial session in the afternoon where we look at our PSHE programme and we look at our careers programme. But during this time, we are staggering the exits for our students. So some go home at 2:45 and some going home at 3:05. But hopefully next year it will be a 3:25 finish. And on Fridays, because it's Friday, we leave school at 3 o'clock. So that's a very busy, very intense structure for the students. But they cope. They just get very tired, I think.
Okay. Do Year 7s get to Rebecca, do you want to?
So usually, yes. You know, like we've spoken about, at the moment they're in their year group bubbles, but ordinarily they see the other year groups around the buildings and during break and lunch times, and they also have their Year 8 buddies, so that's a friend that they get to make in the year above them, as well as sixth form helpliners who help with things like homework club or enrichment activities. So yes, ordinarily there's lots of communication between the different year groups.
Okay, this is a question that's come in tonight, but was also on pre-registration, is around what subjects do we set or stream students based on ability for? Well, students in Year 7 are all taught in their form groups, which are mixed ability classes, and that's for every subject through the school, with the exception of maths and science. So in maths and science, they will be streamed across 10 different classes, with 4 of those classes being what we would call fast tracks classes for students of higher ability, and the other 6 classes would be mixed ability classes. It enables us to really push the higher ability students, and it also enables us to give a real focus on the mixed ability classes because they are slightly smaller in number in terms of number of students, so we can spend more time with the students and really make sure that every student makes fantastic progress. So it's only maths and science that we stream for. We don't set, so we don't have set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5, etc. It's only literally 4 fast track group classes, and then all of the rest are mixed ability. In English, which was one of the questions, there are no sets all through the school. It's all mixed ability teaching in slightly smaller classes in their form group. So there are classes of around 24. So I hope that answers that question. But if you've got any other questions around setting, then please do type one in the chat bar and keep those questions coming in. Keep us busy. What is the homework policy, Mrs. Lowe?
Lots of it. No. They have about 10 pieces a week in lower school, and each piece is around 30 minutes, but homework can be in various forms. It can be a written homework, it can be that they have to read something, it could be they have to investigate something, it could be that our students are asked to watch a programme or listen to something on the radio. So there's lots and lots of different types of homework. They could go out, be asked to go and visit somewhere. It's not just finishing work, but it also is to stretch and challenge the students. It could be where they're preparing the learning for the next lesson. So we ask them to go home and do some investigation. When they come into the next lesson, we talk to them about that. And obviously it increases as they go up to the upper school because of the GCSEs. And you usually are allowed 3 days from setting to handing in. And it's all accessible on something called ePraise and Microsoft Teams. And so ePraise is where the homework is set with a deadline, but then all the provision and support materials are on Microsoft Teams. And if you don't do your homework, in Year 7 we do give you some grace and we do help you with your organisation. But if you don't do your homework, the teacher might ask you to do a detention to make up for that time. So it's really, really important that you establish right from the beginning really good learning habits, because when you get to your GCSE and A-level years, you must have, learned how to do your homework at home. So yeah, homework's really important.
Okay, are there spaces open before and after school for students to study? That's a really nice question. Well, pre-COVID, students were able to come to school from 8 o'clock in the morning to study before school in their tutor rooms. Also after school, there is time to study up until 4:30, so students have a chance to do their homework after school if they want to, either in the library or in one of our computer rooms, which is open after school for them to use. We also run a Key Stage 3 homework club for girls in Year 7 and Year 8, which is supported by staff, so staff are available to help them if they've got any queries or need help with anything. Obviously, at this moment in time, we're not able to offer quite the same service as that, but we certainly hope to be back to normal by next year and have those spaces available both before and after school for students. So I hope that answers that question. Do after-school clubs have a cost, and what is on offer, Mrs. Lowe?
We offer lots and lots of after-school clubs, and most of them, if not all of them, don't cost anything. So they are free, but obviously sometimes there might be sort of some costs that you need to provide equipment and things like that. So if you're playing football, you might need football boots. If you're doing netball, you might need specific trainers and things. And there's so many clubs, there's a whole list of them. So we've got things like Pop and Rock Band, Book Munch Club, the choir, the handwriting club, which is really important, isn't it, to learn how to write properly. Senior Dance Club, Year 7 Netball, Windmill Magazine, the Manga Club, MFL Club, which is Modern Foreign Languages, and we do drama and musical clubs as well. So I'm looking at the page beside me, and there's just so many clubs to mention. Let's Get Cooking. So yeah, most of them are free, but obviously you might need to provide, as I said, equipment and things. There's a question that's just come in up there. It says, do you have a prayer room in school? that's available for the girls to access during the school. No, we don't, and we did discuss this as a governance, and we decided that as we're a non-denominational school and we value all of our students and all of their different beliefs and everything, we wanted our students to feel included, but our students of certain faiths do find places where they can do their prayer if they need to during the day. So we don't actually provide a specific prayer room for students. I think at the moment most students are really happy with that, and we've not had any requests for us to provide that. And I know the governors were determined that there wouldn't be sort of areas where certain students couldn't go. So we wanted to make sure we were totally inclusive for our students. There's another one about how integral is IT in all school topics. Well, that's really interesting because it's very moment in time. It's very integral because, as I said to you, the IT, we worked on the Microsoft Teams over the lockdown and those millions of things that we provided. And in each bubble that we've got, there are laptops and equipment ready for the students. And we are looking into buying tablets for our students, but we are not like other schools, and I know some schools do this, where every student is given a laptop or given or asked to buy a tablet. I think we fundamentally believe that it's important that students write and process using writing as well. And I know the way forward is to use tablets, but we do have the things that are needed for the students in school. And there's a lot of debate about use of Google, the different laptops and the different tablets, and whether they actually enhance learning. I think our results prove that what we do in school is working for our students, but they do know how to search, they do know how to use the internet safely, they do know how to filter the information that they need. They don't just do cut and stick and paste. But what's really interesting for us is in our Year 9, we've put on a specific IT program. Some of our students don't know how to use Excel spreadsheets, they don't know how to use Word particularly well, they don't know how really a computer works, but they're whizzo on their phones. So we've put a program in place for our students to learn how to use IT properly, but we do have computers in school.
Okay, we've got a question here about frequency of communication between parents and staff. Rebecca, do you want to
say? We report formally home 3 times a year. So the students will receive one set of data, and then they will receive a fully written report as well. And then on top of that, you have a consultation evening with your daughter's subject teachers. But in addition to those, staff are frequently in contact with parents, when there's a concern, when there's issues to raise, but mostly it's to praise and encourage. So we get lots of postcards sent home, lots of good news phone calls on Fridays, which is really nice. And so form tutors are your first port of call in school, so they're the first person that you would make contact with. And then parents are able to contact school anytime and meet with staff if issues do arise.
Okay, we had a question that's come in about sixth form. Is there a catchment area for the sixth form? Mrs. Lowe?
No, there isn't actually. We welcome students from all over the borough. We've actually got students who come from Croydon. As long as the students can get here safely and that their timekeeping is fine, because we don't want students to spend hours and hours travelling, then we will welcome students in our sixth form. The problem we've got is the sixth form's becoming incredibly popular, so there may come a time when we have to cap the numbers because we've got a lot of our own students wanting to stay. So yeah, we don't have a catchment area. The other question I saw up there was, why don't we stream in English? I've got an idea, but do you want to answer that, Rebecca? I mean, I know why. I've been told why we don't stream, but I was just wondering if it was the same reason.
So I'm an English teacher, and there's lots of research, and for many years the research has proven that students achieve better results in English in mixed ability classes. It's hugely discussion based. Your students pull each other up, and it's really good to have a mixture of students there to facilitate those conversations. And we differentiate within the class, obviously, but the texts that we choose enable students to achieve level 9s, but they're still accessible to the students who are aiming for our kind of lower levels as well. So that's what I love about English, is that it's accessible for all. So that's my understanding.
Yeah, and I think that particularly girls, they learn from each other, and in English, because it is a lot of speaking and a lot of listening, we don't want to cap their experiences, so they need to be exposed to different levels of language as well. So that's why we don't set. There's another question up there about what are the catering facilities? Well, on a normal year, we have an amazing canteen which can seat about 240 students, and the food is just phenomenally lovely. At the moment, that's divided into 2 areas for year 7 and 8. And then we've got, we shouldn't call them feeding stations, but we've got feeding areas around school for our years 9, 10 and 11. Sixth form have got their own bespoke canteen, but we've got pop-up canteens or feeding provisions across the school for year 10 in their bubble, year 9 in their bubble and year 11 in their bubble. So the food is lovely, it's really, really good. The current year 7s and 8s are really lucky because they get to use the school canteen. But the other older students are quite capable for Deliveroo and all those sorts of other things. So.
Okay, I've got a question about what sports do we offer at TGS. Well, I'll go answering that one. I'll do my best.
Okay.
We're really actually quite lucky here at Tolworth. We've got fantastic sports facilities. We're lucky enough to have a shared provision with Tolworth Recreation Centre, which gives us access to a very, very large indoor hall where we can do badminton and basketball and netball, bench ball and trampolining. We have a gym, so we can do gymnastics. We have an outdoor Mooga, which is brand new and state-of-the-art, all-weather outdoor surface. Again, we can go out there and we can play rounders and cricket. Again, there's netball courts out there. We can do athletics. So we offer an incredible range of sports. Throughout year 7, they will go on a carousel of different activities. There are also a range of different clubs catering for all different types of sports for every year group after school as well. So if your daughter is interested in sport, then this is a great place to be. We have lots of matches on a usual year against other schools in lots and lots of different competitions. So whatever your daughter's passion is in terms of sport, there's definitely a sport on offer for her here. So that's really exciting, I think, from a sporting point of view. Got a heavyweight question, Mrs. Lowe, coming up about bullying.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking at that one. So what is our policy on bullying? Well, we're a telling school basically. We communicate a clear moral position against bullying for our students and harassment, and we really do not tolerate it. We educate the students in assemblies and during tutorial sessions and around through our curriculum to promote anti-bullying. Incidents are infrequent and minor, but they are dealt with instantly. And we do work with our students on understanding what bullying is, because an unkind word, just a one-off, is not bullying, but perpetual, comments and looks can be perceived by the person as bullying. So we work with both parties, both groups, to develop resilience and to develop an understanding of what bullying is and the impact of bullying on the young person. And we work with parents as well. So we do immediately intervene and we support. And if the bullying becomes really, really, really serious, then we will look to work with that young student, and perhaps they're not following the ethos and the beliefs and aims of our school, and they may not have a place here anymore. But we also need to develop the resilience of the young person, because sadly, out there in the world, they are going to meet people who will be unkind and could potentially bully them, and they need to be able to stand up and say to the bully, I'm not taking it from you. And that happens in workplaces, as we know, sadly, but we will not tolerate it here.
Okay, we've got another heavyweight question, which is around our policy on mobile phones.
Oh, that's an easy question. We do not sort of search everybody's bag in school, but we do not allow mobile phones to be in school and on the school site. Now, if they're seen, they will be taken. If they're not seen and they're in the school bag and I don't know that they're there, then we don't know that they're there, so we can't take them. We obviously know that you get worried about your child going home, but I haven't got the time to deal with 1,400 mobile phones, and I haven't got the time to deal with them getting stolen or going missing or going off in lessons. And a member of staff recently, her son started at a new secondary school, and she says she keeps getting messages from him during the day, which is incredibly disconcerting because she's worried that something's wrong with him, and all he wants to do is just say hi. So, you know, mobile phones in your bag, I don't want to see them. If I see them, they get confiscated, and then we ask you as a parent to come and collect them and support us with that. As soon as they go outside the school, if they miraculously find them in their school bag, that's entirely up to them, but we do not have them. We don't have makeup either, that's another school rule.
I was going to add about mobile phones is that I think we as a school think it's really important that the girls actually talk to each other and sit and have a chat and a natter rather than spending time on their mobile phones. So it's really important for their communication skills to be able to work on, you know, chatting to a friend and, you know, just being normal girls without having to worry about all the different issues that some of that technology can arise. And one of the things we'll do when you start with us in Year 7 is part of our information evening is around effective use of technology for them and some of the apps, and we'll hopefully be able to work with you on encouraging them to use their mobile phones sensibly and safely.
It says up there, what universities do our graduates normally go to? Well, I think if you named a university, they would go to it. We've got students who go to Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, every university down through the country, Oxford, Cambridge, Russell Group, Red Brick, universities that are fantastically brilliant, like Bournemouth at business studies. Obviously some universities that are brilliant at teacher training, like St Mary's, SOAS, King's. So every university I think has been touched by Tolworth Girls' School. The other one is how did you operate lessons during lockdown? Well, we operated using Microsoft Teams. So I think within the space of 2 weeks, our staff had taught themselves how to use it. Our amazing IT department had set it all up. I think we were telling Microsoft Teams what we needed, and they were putting things in place like put your hand up, you know, sharing the screen. So at the very beginning, I spoke to you about the 500,000 messages that were shared, the 250,000, you know, exchanges of information, the 1,400 teams and things that were set up. So we talked for about 3 hours every day. And we also had mini school during lockdown. So any student that was disadvantaged or in any way, you know, parents were key workers, school ran all the way through, including Easter and half term. And then we eventually took a break at summer holiday. But we had every child in before the school closed so that they could reacquaint themselves with school and have some teaching. So yeah, I think the attendance was over 90%. The other thing we did was, before we went into lockdown, we identified students who didn't have access to IT. So any student who didn't have a computer at home or didn't have IT internet, we provided them with a laptop, and we also provided dongles, love that word, for the students so that they could access the internet at home and they weren't disadvantaged in any way. So yeah, the school ran normally and as normal as it can do. We had assemblies and catch-up sessions with the students, and we also monitored attendance, and if you weren't attending, we rang up and spoke to the parents and spoke to the students as well. And our teaching assistants and our student support workers also made contact, so we had online counselling sessions, online mental health work, online catch-up sessions with our teaching assistants. So we did a brilliant job. I think our staff were just phenomenal during lockdown. I'd
go as far as to say is I think we were the only school, certainly that I'm aware of, that offered every single lesson completely live, like this is happening now. So it was in many ways like the teacher was taking the classroom to home. It wasn't just a case of having work set for students. We actually had the teacher performing live, sharing PowerPoints, answering questions completely live on screen in real time. So we certainly don't feel that our students were disadvantaged in any way from attending lessons like that throughout lockdown. So I think that puts us in a really strong position going forward. I think it's improved us in terms of our technology, and now how teachers are teaching in class every day. It's improved because of the use of technology. And certainly whilst we hope nothing like lockdown happens again, if we were to end up in that situation, we are in a great place, I think.
And what's really, really sad is there's going to be no more snow days. So we have had to close for snow. The students will be taught at home, so there'll be no tobogganing or sledging or anything like that. There's another question, what's your music facilities like? We have 2 bespoke music rooms that have got computers, and they've got organs, what are those things called? Keyboards, yeah, keyboards, sorry. And we've also got a recording studio, and we've got 3 practice rooms. So yeah, and the music facilities right next door to the theatre as well. So we've got, you know, lots going on in terms of music, and we work with Wimbledon School on providing sort of extension to our music facility and our music provision in school. There's a question there about streaming, which is a really good question here, about how we ensure all our students are challenged and stretched academically. Do you want to do that on that?
Yeah, so when students arrive with us, traditionally they would have Key Stage 2 assessment scores. Obviously, this year, current Year 7s haven't actually had those assessment scores because they didn't sit the assessments in May. But we do get teacher assessments from primary school, and they also sit some CATS tests when they join us, and they're monitored and given a baseline test in every subject. And all of that data basically we use to provide them with a personalised target grade in each of their subjects, which we call a minimum target grade. And that's based on a combination of all those things I've just talked about. And we are an aspirational school. We look at setting those targets so that our students will achieve in the top 20% of the country in terms of final outcomes. So they're really quite tough targets, and that is just their minimum target grade. They will also get an aspirational target grade, which is slightly higher than that. And in every subject throughout the year, students are tracked and measured against those target grades to ensure that they are on course for the grades they're capable of. If students aren't reaching those target grades, then subjects will provide interventions to give them a little boost or a little help to get them back on track towards those target grades. And if the student is quite comfortable at working within those target grades, then staff do have the option to raise those grades up a little bit to really stretch the students. So that's how we monitor the students. In addition to that, our lessons are monitored very regularly as well. We have regular learning walks where senior members of staff visit lessons for sort of observations, and we have regular book checks each term to ensure that the learning journey the students are on in their books is representative of the quality that we expect here at Tolworth Girls' School. And we're always really proud of the fact that the quality of our lessons and the learning that happens in those lessons is so very high. So you don't need to worry about your students being challenged, or your daughters being challenged, I should say. Let us worry about that, but they'll certainly be stretched academically. And in all cases, as you can see from our Progress 8 score, they generally go on and get at least a grade more than most schools would expect them to get by the time they finish at the end of Year 11.
There's a question, how does the school fare in sport competitively? We do really well. We've got a really strong netball team. Our football team in Year 11 was unbeaten. We're fantastic at trampolining. We're always winning awards for our trampolining. Athletics, we have some amazing students who win, represent the county and represent the country. We've got present students who are representing the country in gymnastics. And particular areas of strength, I think we're strong across the board for most of our sports. The one area of strength I would like to sort of talk about is the Wimbledon ball girls, because every year increasingly number of our students actually represent us at the Wimbledon tennis finals, and they are ball girls, and we often are sort of shouting at them on the television because there are so many of them. So yes, sports is really strong here, and we are competitive, and I'm often asked which school I'd like to beat. I'm not going to share.
All of them.
All of them. There's a question, how would you provide information on your SEM provision? Well, we've got, in terms of the school, we've got the SRP unit, which is the specialist resource provision, which is for students who've got Asperger's, autism and associated difficulties. And we can take up to 10 students for that within that unit. The SEM provision here is just brilliant. You can make an appointment to see. We've got a specialist area that's provided. We've got about 6 or 7 rooms. The rooms are specialised. They meet the needs of the students. So we've got an English as an additional language office. We've got an area where students can do some work on their mental health and their well-being. We've got catch-up literacy, we've got catch-up numeracy, and we've got an SNCO who's in charge of inclusion. We've got 6 student support workers who work with our students on their emotional well-being and their behaviour and, you know, taking care in school. And we've got an amazing set of teaching assistants who work with our students who have very specific needs in terms of dyslexia or dyspraxia or ASD. So yeah, I would say, I mean, whenever anyone comes in with a local authority to look at our SEN provision, they say it's a jewel in the crown, really, because we do invest in that, because our students are incredibly precious to us, and as all students are, and at any one time, one of us could have a need that needs to be addressed. I'm just looking at the last, what type of media is available for students to express themselves, to deliver projects? Well, video cameras. Well, we've got all of those sorts of things going on here. I think in PE they've got those little handheld videos. We encourage our students to not only do the written form of communication, but also to use videos to do presentations. They can obviously use at home, if they want to, their phone, and then download it onto something and bring it into school. So yeah, I mean, you know, they can do art, they can do drama, they can do textiles. I'm just trying to think about however else they can present their work or their kind of feelings and their emotions, but there's lots of mediums in school. And in terms of structure and video content, I think that would be up to the individual teacher as to what they were looking for and how they wanted the students to actually present that. It could be a group presentation, a single presentation. Obviously content's really, really important, because we don't want things coming in that are not age appropriate. And even the videos we show students have got to be age appropriate. So yeah, I mean, that's quite, I've never had that question before. Never had to think about that one.
There's one here that that's just come in around whether students are allowed off site at lunchtime. Rebecca, I don't know if you want to answer that.
Yeah, so no, they're not. We keep them, we keep a close eye on them. So they have about, you know, they can go to the canteen, they're free to move around the school ordinarily at lunchtime. We've got lots of outside space for them to meet their friends. We've got new kind of artificial grass areas on the playground, so there's all throughout the year they can find space to sit with their friends. And we've got a really lovely canteen now, so there's kind of no need for them to go off site at lunchtime. So yeah, we keep them here.
Okay, this is one for you, Mrs. Lowe, I think. What are the school accolades or achievements that you are most proud of?
I think if I kind of break it down to various parts, I think in terms of the building, I'm incredibly proud of the new facilities that we have got for our local and immediate community. And so, you know, people within our catchment area and our sphere of influence have got this amazing school, which is, you know, built for the 21st century and will provide for our scholars of the future. So in terms of the fabric of the school, I'm incredibly proud of that. In terms of the staff, our staff are just, as I keep saying, amazing, but they are so student-centred. It's all about the student, and they really, really want to make every student achieve the very best and be the very best that they can be. And they work really, really hard to achieve that. Obviously, you know, there's some days we don't get it quite right, but we constantly reflect on that. I think in terms of achievement for our students, it's the fact that they join us as little girls of aged 11 and they leave us as young women who will quite happily sit in my office talking to me about Black Lives Matters, microaggressions, the role of women in society, the fact that, you know, they're respected whether they're gay, whatever culture they come from, whatever ethnic group they come from, and we can have most amazing conversations with young women who have come through our school for 7 years, and then when they leave and they go to universities and they ring you up and they come back and say, I've just got my doctorate in astrophysics, and by the way, I'm also a tango champion across the country. So I'm just proud for our students and what they become, and I'm also delighted when I go and get my hair done or my nails done or a massage done, and I go to hospital that Tolworth is providing people and students who go into so many jobs in our local community and support and work with our local community, and they also are employable and just such lovely people. So I suppose the building, my staff, our staff and our students, they're the best accolades really, aren't they?
Absolutely. I've got a question here about, do Year 7 go on many school trips if we don't have COVID? They certainly do. Rebecca, I don't know if you want to whiz down some of those.
Yeah, so we do lots of things in school, extra activities, like the disco and so on. But then there are trips as well. So we do year group trips, such as we've got a close relationship with the Rose Theatre. And we often go to their Christmas production, take the majority of the year group up to see that. Then within subject areas, students go off to Windsor, they go to the Tower of London, and then, like I've said, we've got the team building trip in the summer that lots of the students go on. We spend 2 nights camping out, no technology at all there, they're not allowed their mobile phones at all there. And they learn to build fires and shelters, put on long talent shows for us in the evening. So yeah, lots of opportunities for them to build that cultural capital.
Okay, there was a question that asked, again, it was around admissions, about not living in the borough, but will be living in the borough by the time they get here in September. How do we apply? Well, you apply through your local education authorities admissions portal and they will contact us in Kingston, but I do have to say, unfortunately, it will be down to the admissions criteria still. So if the distance at the time of application is too far from school, then you are unlikely, unfortunately, to be offered a place with us. What I would suggest, if you're keen in joining us when you move to the borough, is obviously you can apply and be on the waiting list, and hope that as time goes by, students move on and spaces become available. So whilst difficult, there is still a possibility for that to happen. We really need you to keep posting those questions, because we're I think we've run out of the ones that have come in live. Yeah. But this is my Blue Peter moment, Mr. Sloan, because I've got a little list here of all the popular ones that were asked last week. So maybe we'll whiz down 1 or 2 of these and just answer some of the popular ones from last week. And then if you have a question for us, please do stick it through and we'll answer it as soon as it crops up, because you'll be top of the list.
Okay, do students start GCSEs start in year 9 or year 10? So we've started our GCSEs in year 9, and we've also, to make sure that the students get a really full and enriched curriculum, we've put on a carousel, which means that they do 3 subjects throughout the year, and that is Mandarin, IT, and they also do musical drama. So that keeps the students in touch with creativity as well, but they do start their GCSEs in year 9.
Do you go to different classes for different lessons? Well, yes, you do normally on a normal school year. Each area of the school has specialist teaching rooms for each subject. So you would go to the science labs for science, you'd go to the maths block for maths, you'd come to the humanities corridor for geography and history. You'd go to the arts block for arts, you'd go to the English block for English. So yes, the girls would spend time moving from lesson to lesson, and there are movement breaks built into the timetable between each lesson to allow them to get there. Sadly, this year that's not happening at the moment. The students are all being taught in year group bubbles, so they are staying in the classrooms and the teachers are going to them, which is different but still working very well. And actually I would say for year 7 it's probably helped a little bit with the transition, because they're very familiar with their classrooms and they're not having to move around the school quite so much. But we're hopeful by next year we'll be back to normal and students will be moving around, bumping into each other, not literally, but meeting each other in corridors and finding their way around and going to those specialist classrooms for all of their lessons.
Okay, we've got some up there. Are students allowed to wear trousers? Yes, they are, as long as they're their school trousers. How do we communicate with parents? Oh no, how do parents communicate with teachers?
We have the students carry a planner around with them, so there is that option which is very similar to primary school, where you can relay messages via that, but then you also have access to your students' teachers' email addresses, So that's quite a useful form of communication. But then you can just call us, you can ring the school office and get messages to the member of staff that you want to speak to.
That ties in quite nicely with one on here, which is how frequent is the communication between staff and parents. Well, you get 3 sort of formal reports from us per year. One of those will be a grade report, one will be a full written report with grades on it, and one will be a parents' consultation evening, where you'll be able to obviously to come into school to meet all of your daughter's teachers and discuss her progress with them. Those are still running even this year. We're going to do them all virtually. And in addition, you can contact staff, and staff regularly contact home to discuss things with parents. As Rebecca said earlier, that form tutors are the first point of contact and will gladly talk to you via email or by phone, depending on what you prefer. And you are able to book appointments and come into school at any time to meet staff if you need a more formal discussion to talk about things. So the frequent communication is as frequent as you want it to be, alongside those more formal reporting times as well.
There's a question about providing fast track programs for the more capable students. As Matt said, we identify the students and their target grades when they arrive in school. So obviously if a child is incredibly gifted or able in maths, they would go into fast track route for maths, but they may find it a bit difficult in science, so they go into a mixed ability. So it's basically, we individualise the programme for every student, but yes, they do have fast track programmes. If they're gifted or talented in a particular area, the teachers will identify that and they will be asked to take part in enrichment activities or extension activities, or we don't like to talk about if you finish your work, you've now got to do this. So every lesson has got challenge built into it, and you might find that certain students are grouped in certain ways, and the way the work is set allows students who have particular gifts to sort of progress quite quickly. So we do, make sure that the students and individualised programmes are in place, and we do have gifted and talented programmes. And when you get to the 6th form, we actually do a fast track route there for students who need to apply to universities earlier to do medicine or to do law or any of the fast track science degrees. So I think that's okay about that. But we don't have sort of sets. We definitely do not have sets here, because girls do better if they're exposed to students of all abilities, and that helps them to develop as well. So our top end students do really well, and all students do well here. Careers advice, we've got 2 dedicated members of school. You can answer that question.
Yeah, so we've got 2 dedicated careers advisors. Careers is a theme that runs throughout school, so right from year 7 through part of the pastoral programme, they'll be exposed to careers, which obviously becomes ever more in depth as they go up through the school. We run days like Daughters to Work Day in year 8 and year 10 to give them some exposure to work. We do formal work experience in year 12. We have numerous days. So we have, for example, Women in Science Day, where the girls can obviously come down in small groups and talk to different types of scientists, so they get an idea about sort of the different jobs that are available. We do a whole host of things like that, and as they get up towards options, which they take towards the end of year 8 going into year 9, we give them obviously a lot more information about what the different option subjects can lead towards. They will have group and individual interviews as they go through year 10 and year 11, preparing them for sixth form and life after year 11. We work with them quite strongly on applications to our sixth form. And also when they're in the sixth form, we work very strongly with them in terms of looking at future careers. We put on workshops for them. We help them with university applications. So we've got a really strong careers structure in this school. And most recently we had one of the highest sort of staying on rates from year 11 to sixth form. And I think we've got one of the highest sort of transition rates from the end of sixth form to university. So we do fantastically well with our young people and make sure that they get to the courses and the institutions that they want to at the end of their time with us.
There's a question, how much movement is there on the waiting list? There's not terribly much. I think once people accept a place, I think there was about 20 places this year that moved, and that was mainly parents who have moved out of the area. And we do maintain a waiting list every year, and I think we've got over 100 on the waiting list. You know, you could get in year 8. We do have parents who move out of the area, and we've just some new year 8s have just joined us. I always think it's really worth applying because you just don't know what it's going to look like year on year. So yeah, that is, you know, I can't give you any good news around that, I'm afraid. It says, is there any support system for students who are easily overwhelmed? Oh yes, definitely. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. So there's lots of support in place for all of our students. So if I just take you through the support that each student would expect to receive, and then I'll talk a little bit about students who need some extra support. So we have our daily tutor time. So that means that every student in the school spends half an hour at the end of the day with their form tutor. And that's where we do our PSHE work, but it's also where we celebrate their successes, we nominate Fab Friends of the Week and Tutees of the Week, and it's also a time for the students to be with their form tutor, to go over any worries or concerns that they've got, ask questions. So that's a really helpful time that they have at the end of every school day. Our tutorial programme includes lots of work around establishing their, healthy mental health. So we talk, we cover topics like anxiety, and that's it's something that's spoken about a lot. So they're very open about it. We find that students are really good at asking for help if they need it, because they know that there's so much support on offer, and they know who they can go and talk to. We have year group assemblies, so last year all of the year 7 form groups took assemblies with a mental health focus. So it is at the forefront of our minds, and we know how important it is. We have the buddy scheme, so that helps with students as well, so that they can get student perspective on it, because often we can give lots of ideas and advice, but actually it's another student who tells them something that helps to make them feel better. And then they have, there's more formalised support through the student support workers and their heads of year as well.
And we've also got wellbeing dogs. So we've got 2 wellbeing dogs in school. There's a question here about how do we support students whose English is an additional language, and I think that's one of our last questions. We've got a specialised teacher in school who works with our students whose English needs developing, and obviously there's various stages of that. So she will do individualised work with the students, but she'll also support departments and making sure that the curriculum is accessible. And it's quite interesting that the students who come here and can't speak English, give them a few months and they're very good at speaking English, but it's the cognitive development of the language she works on as well. Subjects offered for GCSE. I think every subject's offered for GCSE, but we do put in extra ones like health and social care, and there's textiles and design at GCSE. So there's history, geography, modern foreign languages, English. You have to do English, you have to do maths, you have to do RS. You have to do either geography or history, and yeah, there's PE, dance, so there's lots of different subjects. And if I could give you one word that you feel best describes, oh, that's really hard. Inspirational. I think inspirational. Yeah, I certainly feel inspired every morning when I wake up. So yeah, it's inspirational.
I'm going to say happy, actually, because you walk around the school and it's a happy place. Both staff and students have got a smile on their face. They enjoy their time here. So I'm going to say happy.
Yeah.
I'm going to say inclusive, because you meet a huge array of students when you work here, and they are all happy and excited to be here, and really supportive of one another. So I'd say inclusive.
I think that's the end. I don't think we've got any other difficult questions. I think we've answered all of the questions we've thought of, all of the questions that you asked in advance. So honestly, if you've got any concerns or you want some further information, I think we've got a contact address that you can contact us on, and it is contact the school. It's just been written on the system now.
Should come on your screen any second if our technology is working properly.
It's just we have to make sure that the Tolworth Girls' School's got all the S's. So if you've got any questions or you've got anything that you've still got concerns about, then please contact the school. And if you do have specific needs like SEND, or you'd like to look at our SRP provision, then please phone and we can arrange for tours of that. Please make sure you look at our website, because we've got lots and lots of information, additional videos, comments from our parents, comments from our students. We didn't script any of them, they all said what they said from their heart. And I love the comment from the mother where she said, we just get girls and they feel at home here. So please do look at what's on the website. I hope you keep well. I hope you have a lovely rest of the evening. And we hopefully will see you very, very soon. And if not very soon, we'll see you in September. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for the team tonight for getting us online. And thank you for looking after us.